Hi guys, this is Sidney. This video today may be in a little bit different style, even though I'm going to share the messages for the collective and what's taking place in regards to Gaia's Ascension timeline right now. Um, that's marking like the history is what is coming. So like it was a historical moment during this Lionsgate portal on 8/8, and since then until today. So I wasn't feeling like sharing and being on camera right now, but I attempted a few different times before this because my spirit team was really urging me to be on camera, but I wasn't really feeling for it. So there was a little bit of resistance there, right? Um, but this is going to be more like relaxed, chill, just as if we're having a coffee or tea or having a conversation kind of style. I would like to keep it that way because I think they also want me to share some of my personal journey, the stories, um, because that's related to the message that I am guided to share right now. Um, so I'm just going to share the message first so that anyone who wants to stay or who feels connected to stay further to listen to my story and like a chit chat kind of style, right? If you want to stay engaged, then you can stay or you can take off, right, as you wish. So, as always, tune in with your heart and discern with your own intuition whether it may resonate with you or not, okay, and discern that way. So, actually, right now, there's a lot of activations that are taking place in my crown chakra, and I'm very low in energy. so, yeah, that's how it is right now. So the message, okay, the message is um, we are experiencing victory in terms of Gaia or Earth splitting into the 5D timeline. And this is all the human language that we're talking, like splitting or, moving into highest timeline, moving to 5D timeline. But what's really happening is there are parallel versions of Earth that are already existing, and already the highest timeline of Gaia or Earth already exists. It's just a matter of um, us right now aligning with that. So this goes to every individual as well, which I mentioned in my previous videos that the latest one, I believe, that every soul on a soul level, on a subconscious level, are choosing right now to align with which one they're going to align with, different timelines. And in extension to that, I shared that video or the message in the latest video, and the reason why I shared was because we were going to have this moment in Lionsgate. So that was already predestined when I shared the message. So now the earth split even further, meaning there's a lot of shadow energy in the dark that are surrounding Gaia right now due to a lot of there are dark forces, there are dark entities or lower entities or so-called all this like um, groups in an astral realm that are disconnected from source. So they're not part of the source, meaning they're not abundant. They're not eternal. So they have to go around, scavenge hunt, um, in order to survive. Otherwise, they can't go on. So that's why they go on to these different planets, and Earth is one of them. And they shut off all the 12 strands of DNA. So they sort of trap humanity or humans in a very lower vibration. And they do a lot of different things other than this, but I'm not going to go into like all the details. So basically, I also share this in my previous videos, that the Stonehenge, which is the higher heart of Mother Gaia, has to be activated, and the energy has to be reversed, which we are going to receive the energy from Sirius during the Lionsgate portal. But there were certain forces in the darkness. They were trying to block this from happening so that we don't move to the age of light. So they have power over this earth and humanity and make them their slaves. So that's why we work with a lot of the slave mentality here, right? The poverty consciousness, the lack mindset, comparison, operating out of ego. And a lot of these people, even though they are connected to source, meaning they are the source of abundance, they develop a lot of narcissistic tendencies, which are very toxic, and they want to spread this among all the people, right? And it's contagious, that toxicity. So that's how they want to keep the vibration low on earth. But now, because it's time to reverse that cycle from the age of Leo that started, the fall of Atlantis, where the humanity started to fall, become the servants of the dark forces, become the slave, we develop all these ideologies, philosophies, concepts, morality, ideas of morality based on religion. So idea of religion has been very big on the humanity since then. So worshiping God, someone who's higher than you, meaning you're always going to be lower than them. That idea of higher and lower, separation, heaven and hell, that is the duality consciousness, we call it. And so right now, we had to reverse it to bring God within consciousness during Lionsgate portal with the energy from Sirius. And because they knew this, they did something to reverse the energy when the light codes were coming down from Sirius during the portal gate. And with that, I share the information in the previous video. They're already spiritual group chosen specifically by source based on their vibration to reverse work on this energy. And also another group in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles, it's, you know, in Spanish, the angels. So there's a portal, another portal there that's connecting Miami and then Hawaii. So there's another triangle that's representing the pyramid. And then also in England, for higher heart, there's a pyramid forming with the Stonehenge and Glastonbury and all that, like another point. And so I saw these triangles rising up, and I shared this in my previous video as well. In my dream time, I saw and I received the message. And Source told me about the Stonehenge in March 2023, and I didn't know what that was about specifically until recently. So it was about this time, and then I was guided to go to Bali during 7/7 portal, right, in July, to open up the flow state and anchor that energy down to Gaia. So basically, I didn't really know why I had to be there specifically, but usually, I'm just guided to go there, and it's just one by one, one by one. And I shared the video doing the transmission, and when I connected with Kuan Yin and Dragon Realm and a lot of Unicorn Realm, um, and the portal there. So actually, I thought the portal was already there, and because I had lifetime in Lemuria, I went there to work with the portal to support the energy of the pyramid, to reverse the energy for inner earth, so that the inner earth receives all this higher light codes from Sirius through the portal gate, and then that's going to dissolve everything and reverse, and we're going to move into the age of light officially. Okay, so that is the word that is coming, official beginning, with this Lionsgate portal. So I share this little clip of the Lionsgate portal energy. That's the huge portal. You will see the circle with the rainbow around, and then the sun. And that happened when I just stepped outside of my building on the day of 8/8 in the morning. And I was feeling really cold to look up to the sky somehow. And then it was just there, boom. And I filmed it. I was amazed and I was in awe. And after a little while, I took a walk outside. And then from that angle, I wanted to see whether I could still see it, but I wasn't able to see it. So only from the certain angle. So I had, like, in that sense, it was a confirmation for me that I was meant to see it and there was something there, and then I just left it at that. And later that day, I was feeling really cold, meaning guided to go to this specific temple that's relating to the energy of Shiva, which is relating to the energy of transformation, the death and rebirth, in Angkor Wat. So prior to that, even though I was in Cambodia, I arrived here at the beginning of August. I didn't go visit the temple or Angkor Wat. I wasn't really feeling cold to it intuitively, and so I just left it at that. So I knew that whenever that I'm meant to be there, I'm going to go there. So that's how I usually move. So on that day, I arranged a trip to see the sunset. And then there I connected with a huge orb energy of Metatron coming through the Grand Central Sun, and he's in charge of that portal. So he came through, and it was all divinely orchestrated and guided, and I picked up on it. So I filmed that, and I was as soon as I entered the vicinity of the Angkor Wat, I started to do light language all throughout. So it's like, I was just doing it. Even though I was at the back of the tuk-tuk and there was a driver, like in a just very like little voice to myself, just like light languaging. And it just came out intuitively, very naturally. So at the time, like, I'm not planning on doing it, I'm not thinking of doing it, it just comes out. And so I was doing it all the way through. And as I was walking, and then I walked on barefoot on the top of the temple, and when I was walking on hill for a little bit to connect with the energy there. And so that's what I did. So on the next day, and then right after that, I was drawn to, meaning I was guided to go to the main temple of Angkor Wat. So I went for the sunrise. So I left very early in the morning, and then I connected with the sunrise the next day, meaning the 8/9. And I connected with the energy there. So that's another like 8-9 is a 8-8 this year, because it's 8 plus 9 is 17, and 2024 is another 8, so 8-8. So the energy was huge. So at the time, I was just doing it intuitively. I had to process it the last couple of days. And so I connected with the sun, and then I went to all of the major temples in the vicinity, and connected with different symbols, and connecting with the energy in a specific uh, points inside the temple is all different. So I was just touching the walls and touching the symbols. It was allowed, so I was able to do that. And it was very high vibrational, especially the main temple in a certain area. So I recorded the light language, which I also put on short form about death and rebirth. And it's relating to the radical transformation that I mentioned in my latest video. So it's inevitable now is the word. It's inevitable. It's undeniable that everyone has to go through this process in one way or another, however they choose it. They may choose to align with negativity, or they may choose to go into positivity. It doesn't really matter, but the soul will choose uniquely because they will be exposed to this energy of transformation. So they may experience a breakdown, they may experience nervous anxiety all of a sudden, or something happens in their life that pushes them to make certain decisions, or it may trigger them to re-experience all these emotions that they have been avoiding all their life, whether it's fear, whether it's anger, resentment, sadness, however they held on to, they didn't really allow themselves to feel. There's no way to avoid it anymore, is what I'm guided to share. So this is all going to happen because of this energy of immense death and rebirth energy that has been activated during this Lionsgate portal. And so what happened was, even though some of the forces tried to reverse this energy, so just to share the results first, everything happened successfully. Okay, it was a victory is the word. A victory, meaning the earth was able to receive all these light codes, and then ground that and spread it out throughout all the grids around the earth and major points, including the higher heart, that's going to activate and raise a vibration, accelerate it really rapidly from this point onwards on Gaia, which is going to affect everyone and everything on earth, even higher and faster acceleration than prior to the Lion's Gate. Okay, so that's the energy that is present right now. Okay, but eventually we will split completely, but right now, we were like this. And I mentioned this in 2023, and we were like this, and then we just started to like shake it off a little bit, but now it's like further apart. That's how it's gonna happen. So this was the pivotal moment, like a turning point, that I mentioned in my latest video. So it's like a turning point now on the 8-8. So still there are a lot of lingering energies from the shadow aspect or the dark aspect that was operating on earth in power, especially in the Los Angeles area where the Hollywood is, because it's connecting all the vessels, meaning like the veins, meaning the flow, meaning moon energy, meaning money, money. So that energy had been controlled and had been contaminated with these forces of linking money, power, sex, basically, right? All the root chakra and the sacral, all these lower chakras, solar plexus, they were just blocked. And the energy had been spreading out through the vocal cords, meaning the throat chakra, which represent the US, throughout the entire world, because that represents the US represents the throat chakra. So whatever that they say, English now is like a universal language right now at this time, right? So all the financial system is based on dollar basis system right now. It was gold backed, but now it's dollar backed, right? So everything, that flow needs to be reversed, and we are just starting that. And the energy support had been successfully anchored down, is what I'm going to share. So a lot of the financial institutions, all these like systems, in order for the system to crumble down, meaning to experience destruction in order to reconstruct, destruct and destruction representing the Shiva energy. So the destruction must happen in order for reconstruction to take place. So that's the energy right now. And so that had been successfully anchored. And also we had the Lemurian portal open in July. And then as soon as we entered into the Lions Leo season, I start to connect with the Atlantean portal that opened up. And so they want me to share this because just before earlier recording this evening, I had a moment of soul retrieval. So I start to remember in a lot, like really like vivid clarity of what my role was in all of this. And they want me to share this on video for some reason. So basically, back in 2022, I was guided to go to Egypt, specifically because they wanted me to be at the pyramid for the 222 portal and add the energy to a spiritual group that was already there that I couldn't join. And so they had me go there for some reason. And at that time, I didn't have any knowledge and I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was just guided to go there. So I went there. And I remember at 222, and on the 222 day at 222 p.m., I went there earlier and then I just started to meditate in front of a pyramid and then just like adding energy to it somehow. And in 2023 March, I learned that I was Isis, the goddess Isis. And back then I met two other souls who were Zekmet and Beset. And at the time, I had no idea about the history of Egypt or all the gods and goddesses. And I didn't know who Isis was. And I remember when I had that moment, I looked back in hindsight when I was in going around in Egypt in 2022. My spirit team guided me to go to different spots, and there were specific reasons. I visited Alexandria and Dahab and Sharm el Sheikh and Sinai and all these different places for a specific reason, because I was connecting with the earth and retrieving all the codes and information while I was there and activating something without me even realizing. And so I remember constantly being drawn to statue of Isis, of that that thing, the Isis statue, everywhere I went, especially when I was in the capital in Egypt. when I went to the museum and everything. So I start to remember that. And then I went through a different timeline and I experienced it like as if it's real in this physical moment. But energetically, I was just moving to that timeline and I experienced everything. And I started to receive information, bits and pieces. And that was how my spirit team wanted me to really experience, so that I really accept it, because there's a lot of doubt in the ego, because I never saw myself as Isis, or I never imagined, or I don't know anything about Isis and who Isis is and what she was, and all of that. So it was all part of the purpose. I chose to forget everything, not remember, in order for me to um, evolve and expand, right? So but then there were two other souls that I was connecting to, like not in person but online, that was very divinely guided. um, and there were a lot of activations that were taking place. And then that's when I started to activate light language, after I close out that timeline of Egyptian timeline. So that closing out that Egyptian timeline was extremely, I would say, something that I don't want to deal with once again, because the energy was so nasty, spooky, like crazy. So because there's a lot of different dark energy entities in that timeline that I had to navigate through. And at one point, for the entire month of March, April, I wasn't able to sleep much, because I was constantly getting activations and downloads and going into different timelines. It's like only in sci-fi movies that I've seen or something like that, that I could, relate to, that share I couldn't share with anybody, because nobody can like really relate to what I was going through. And I had very extreme, sharp, laser like energies that was like hitting certain spots in my brain for about three weeks. So that barely they really prevented me from sleeping, because it was like really sharp, like a very strong migraine. So I was in pain, like physical pain, but it was because they wanted me to it was like a really strong transmission to activate light language. And even back then, I never thought that, or even wanted, or have the desire, or dreamed of, activating light language. And I didn't even know what light language was that much, even though I sensed what it was. And months prior to that, they wanted me to connect with light language so that I knew what it was about. But then, it was just some other people's thing. It wasn't like, my involvement. And so everything just happened out of my own, like beyond my imagination, I would say. And so because I was the goddess Isis, now I had this information. It was so clear, it was so vivid, and there were other clues and signs. But I'm not going to go into all these different details. Someday I may, but not today. So I start to remember all these clues that my spirit team already gave me since my major spiritual awakening or initiation in 2018. So before 2018, I was completely in sleep in a way. In 2018, suddenly one night, when I was doing some breath work, it's not spiritual, it's more personal development. I was more into that, nothing to do with spirituality, and I had no knowledge of whatsoever prior to that, and that was all on sole purpose. And then boom, one night, just third eye opened, crown opened, and I started to see things, and my spirit team came through and started guiding me. So basically, all this time, there were no physical person guiding me, but it was just me and the spirit team all along. And I was communicating telepathically and intuitively. And then they made it pretty obvious. So I had to go through one by one, one by one. They introduced themselves. I saw certain things when I was meditating. So for like, for about a year, only thing I did was meditate all day long, like sleep, meditate. That was all I did pretty much. And then just after that something happened, and then I move on and move on, move on, and I had to go through also the dark night of the soul phase, very intense, very very, they wanted me to go through it very quickly, so everything was super intense. um, but I had trained myself to do this in this lifetime because I carried very heavy generational karma. So even, all throughout my life, I dealt with all these energies and cycles, and my body going off like in disalignment, misalignment. I was always carrying pain somewhere. And then all this depression and suicidal thoughts earlier in my days. And I had to clear, it was my way of transmuting all these energies for the collective. And that was what was taking place. And so I'm digressing a little bit, but okay, they want me to share this for some reason. So so where was I? So this is how it's gonna go. More like a chit chat, free flow. Okay, so if you feel called to stay longer, you're welcome, of course. If you need to go, thank you for connecting thus far, and I'll see you later, hopefully. Um, yeah, so 2022, in 2021, so at the end of 2021, I was diagnosed with zero state breast cancer all of a sudden. So 6 months prior to that, I had the medical checkup, or the regular checkup, which is pretty common in Korea. It's more like a national pension, part of the national medical insurance. So I did that and nothing was wrong. So, but actually, since earlier 2021, they gave me the sign, constantly communicating with me to clean up my diet, because I lived through a lot of just eating disorder, major part of my life in this lifetime, because it was all part of the purpose to collect information for my soul and to report back to source. Anything addictive, like chocolate addiction, sugar addiction, like food addiction, eating disorder relating to emotional stuff, like trauma, like inner child wounds, everything I experienced, I had to live all through that, right? And so a lot of the physical systems were messed up. I was, at one point, I had to deal with certain issues in different parts of the body. And they really wanted me to go off sugar, but I loved sugar, and I loved like milk tea, bubble tea, and all the sugary things, pastries. And even though I was off meat, because ever since I woke up in 2018, I suddenly didn't feel like eating meat and I wasn't able to eat meat somehow. So that's how naturally everything progressed intuitively. But I was still like getting the broth sometimes if it's mixed with other vegetables and I can taste the meat or something like that. But then eventually I was off meat because I wasn't resonating with the vibration of that anymore. So it was all gradual, natural, organic, intuitive. And then I was still eating some seafood, but then within the seafood category, I wasn't able to like, eat certain things, and that's how I everything progressed. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna, I knew that I needed to do that, but then I procrastinated, right? Because I indulged in that, my bubble tea every day, the milk tea and other stuff, snacks, chocolates, and then boom, like at the end of 2021, it was just very sudden, and I knew when that happened, it was divinely orchestrated, and it had to do with a lot of the suppressed anger that was in the heart chakra area that needed to be released. But back then, I had to live with a lot of fear, and then I had to transmute that fear by living with it extremely for about 3 weeks while I was going through the diagnosis period, because they said, oh, they see something, but I have to wait another week for the result and another week, and then I had to do all this examination. And usually it may take months, but my family member knew someone at the hospital, the cancer center, so I was able to go the next day that I shared this news to my mom, and she sensed something was wrong. And when that happened, I didn't realize something was wrong and I was gonna wait. But then it was like as if someone was pushing my back from here, and I was like splitting out. And what happened? And then she took it, and then she told my dad, and then he called his friend, and then that's how it happened. And then I was in the hospital the next day, next morning, and then it was all divinely orchestrated. And the test the next day, and then after that, waiting for the result, and then like that. So that was another whole experience, and I learned how to transmute fear during that period more actively, so I could help other people who are in that situation. So that's what I volunteered to do on a soul level. But at the time of going through it, even though I knew it, experiencing it was very challenging. And so I had the surgery, and they wanted me to go on the radiation therapy after the surgery. And that was to begin in January of 2022. But then I kept on doing the research ever since that diagnosis happened about how cancer cells work and how it's developing, like all the fundamental stuff. And I was trying to like see different, how the effects of the medication works on the body. And because I was concerned about my own vibration, because all these medications, and if I go into some sort of radiation or surgery, even the idea of surgery like was really terrifying, because I never really had that big surgery in my life before. So, and the word cancer, has carries such energy of fear. So I had to deal with all of that, and I wasn't sure. So I had to deal with fear of uncertainty and fear of not knowing, and all of that energy, as also with death, idea of death again. And it was a very meditative period, because every time I was in the hospital, I meditated, and I would realize something and I would transmute it. And then even after the surgery. And so um, but I was still unsure whether I should go on with the radiation therapy or not. And um, and I was still doing the research intensely, and I didn't have that moment of epiphany or that clarity. And that's when I started to fast. So, I started to learn about fasting, and then I studied about all the fasting, intermittent fasting, and how it affects the body, because all I was focusing on was my vibration, and after the surgery. So I wanted to continue to have that vibration and not demean, or not lower the vibration. So I started to fast. I went on a fast before surgery because from my own research, it was helping. It was to help me recover better after the surgery, and all of that. So I started to do juicing, which I never done before. Um, and then after that, it was like juicing, fasting, and all of that surgery. And then they told me that they recommend me to go do the radiation. And I started to study why it's needed and why. And I also talked to a different doctor, like in the radiation center, to schedule my appointment. And then I picked up on certain insights whenever I talked to doctors. And then I knew that they were just programmed to do certain things, they were trained. So it's not for me to blame them for, they don't know this and why they're doing this, but like they're trying to do good for people, but that's all they know and that's what they know. And so it's not to blame them, but they're just doing best to help people in their own ways without realizing the effect of what it really was. And that's how everything, the perspective is working, right? It's about your own choice. And I came across this research, and it was like, I think, two different stories and from three different doctors, like the holistic practice, which I never heard before, and then the effect of the radiation and what it really does, and how the body has the regenerative ability to heal itself. And in that moment, I got a moment of epiphany. So I canceled the radiation therapy just a day before I was supposed to go on. So once I had that clarity, I just knew it for sure. And then I called up the hospital and I just canceled. And, somehow when I canceled it, the nurse was pissed. I don't know why, right? But that's usually how it is. Um, so that's how the world works. So I had to gather that information, right? This is how people react usually. And so I started to go on like juicing and fasting, all of that extreme cleanup. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. I would have like procrastinated until that crisis happened. So sometimes what I learned at the time was, okay, if I resist to the limit, then something bigger is going to happen that I had to really break through, like extreme painful moments. So I learned my lesson then. So whenever I receive a sign, I'm just like, okay, I just put it aside. I'll do it. And then, yeah, I had that experience. So before worst, they like give me louder sign. When they whisper kindly and gently, okay, I will listen and I do it. So that's in a way, like I can speak about it like laughing because I went through it all, and it's all related to this carrying heavy karmic energies. So um that's how it happened. And so going back to Isis. Okay, so sorry about the long story, but I'm just gonna go on because that's what my guides or the spirit team wants me to share. Okay, so um so I had to like do all this cleanup, but then I was in different locations and organic foods were not available. The clean water was not available, like throughout Egypt, and certain parts in Greece and all of that. So I went back and forth, back and forth. So all this diet also started to shift. So I started to crave eating shrimp for occasionally in 2023, in 2022. And then ever since I visited the Mount Sinai, and I came down, I couldn't eat fish anymore. Like I had this regurgitating reaction when I accidentally, it was accidentally ordered, but it wasn't really an accident. It was purposely, divinely orchestrated, that I ordered that fried fish instead of, I thought it was like a shrimp or some other seafood, and then it came out that way. The moment I tried to eat because I was super hungry after I came down from hiking up the Mount Sinai, um, like like I had this regurgitating reaction, and then I wasn't vibrating with the frequency anymore, and I just couldn't eat it. So that's how it's all going to transform or evolve or progress with the dietary experience. So something is that I may want to share this in divine timing about the whole dietary journey that I went through to help people. Not to, share what to do, what not to do, but just that sharing my story so that someone can pick up on something, an insight that they need in that time that may unique to them, they need it. Because I always want people to have the freedom to choose for their own and tune into their own intuition for discernment. So I may have some, recommendations from my own experience, but at the end of the day, you always want to take a moment to connect and what is best for you and what is not in that moment, right? Of resonance. So I moved through it, and then it was all to prepare for me to go visit the pyramid at 222. So when I was going through it, I had no idea. But then in hindsight, I able to have more clarity on why I had to be there, why I was doing that. So later I knew that happened because I had to release a huge suppressed anger that was here on my chest. Um, and on 222 I was doing that, and I didn't realize that I was, Isis or, however it is. And to me right now, like, okay, I don't really see it as something like a goddess or whatever. Like for me, um like it doesn't come like that because I never really had any religious worship in this lifetime, or never really looked up to, like I never really idolized like a K-pop star or actors or like that. I like a lot of these stars or actresses or entertainers, like singers, but it wasn't like me becoming like an idolized, idolizing them or something like that. I think it's because in my soul memory I already have that. It's not part of what we are supposed to be and who we really are. And so for me, for some reason, at first I'm like, who is Isis, and then when they said it was goddess, that was when really like had that ego trigger, like, okay, when we say goddess is something we see as like superior or important, and something like that. So I was like, wow. But there was a distance because I couldn't really see, I wasn't really connecting myself as that. Even though I went and lived through the timeline, even after that. So it was very interesting because when I was living that timeline, because specifically my spirit team had designed that for me so that I retrieve soul memory in that particular time for a particular soul purpose for Gaia. When I was living it, it's like so real, and I know that I'm this and that, and I see it, and I just know. But then when I come out of it and come back to this reality, it's like it was like in this all these dramas or the movies that you lose a memory, that you forget that you are who you forget who you were, and then you live a completely different life with different name and different people around, and then you're being called back because these people who remember you, they're like, oh, we found you, but you don't remember, and they call you back to be in this certain, like, okay, you're the Isis, but then I don't remember because I don't have the memory fully. You see, like, that's kind of a feeling. So I know that I am. It's like, like in these movies, what came to me like constantly, like I used to laugh at this because even though I was like going through a lot, there were moments of laughter because I thought it was like really funny at certain times, because like it's just like living like the movies. It's like you have a headache, like, oh, and then the memory goes, zzz, and then it's like, oh, like you have certain bits and pieces of the memories. It's not clear because it's like trying to come back to you, right? Before it comes back to you fully. And so that's what was like happening, in a way. How I can best describe is that. And then I was going back and forth, and the ego is very, very strong. So once you come out of that, experiencing that timeline, or connecting with the Akash, you're like, what was I doing and what was that about? And you go like, what the hell, right? And it's so surreal. So I'm just guided to share this experience. So a lot of people may, okay, now I get it. The reason why I'm sharing this is more people are going to experience these kind of things as the Gaia is successfully anchor all this light to fully activate the higher heart and clear the timeline of the religious timeline and religious codes that were anchoring down the low, in lower vibration. So what I received was, with this energy now, is successfully anchored all these pyramids that I described in the latest video or the previous video in Bali. This like enlightened, just the third eye activation is very, very active right now. And so that energy has been activated, all these grid points, and then it's spreading out through the veins or the vessels of Gaia. And I saw it in my psychic vision, like literally the veins, like the blood, but it's not the red blood anymore, but it's the light. So we are activating the light body right now. So at this time, in this year, in July, what we were doing was a lot of the womb healing, right? In order for us to get into the flow state of the divine feminine. So we call it the divine feminine rising. And what came to me just before when I was digesting and consolidating this information was divine masculine rooting. So the root chakra has to be cleared and balanced. And this is where all the ancestral trauma is. So especially if you are a generational karmic cycle breaker or a curse breaker, or however you resonate with these terms, like me, then we are to clear this area so that we feel safe, meaning in divine masculine energy, we feel safe in our own root chakra. So there's no fear. So what came to me was scared to sacred. Okay, so when you look at the word scared is S-C-A-R-E, and then the rest is red. Red representing the root chakra, the red color. When you look at the sacred, it's the same red, but it's in reverse. So it's the reversal of that energy right now, ancestral trauma. So a couple of days ago, what I saw was I started to see just before the Lionsgate portal, when the energy was really, really chaotic, there were a lot of distractions that were trying to get to all the light workers, especially 144,000, especially for those of you who are healing immensely, elevating, raising your vibration, and doing certain light working or helping people in one way, or you're really in a hermit mode, dark night of the soul, wherever you are uniquely, they're constantly trying to distract them because they're trying to enlighten themselves. They wanted to suppress this energy before the Lion's Gate. So to minimize this effect of the Syrian portal that's pouring down the light through the portal to anchor that down to earth, Gaia. So I experienced a lot of this heavy energy, and what I saw was as you reflect. So reflection was the key word in my latest video that I shared, was as you reflected, sitting with it, observed, what you were doing was you are clearing all the astral space as a light worker. And that was your role, soul mission, to support this Lionsgate portal. Okay, so what's happening right now is in Leo season was to activate that with the death and rebirth. So in the latest short form that I shared with is a light language that I channeled when I was in the main temple of Angkor Wat, and I suddenly wanted to record it. And it was about the death and rebirth and transformation. So the message was basically, when I meditated, I connected with that ancient wisdom, with my soul wisdom. And then death is going to be sudden. Death is sudden, just like that. Transformation is sudden. And suddenly we are going to drop all opinions, all images, all ideas, and all attachments, and there's no hope. And in that, we are moving from fear to freedom, because in that moment of detachment and dropping all of that is sudden, just in a moment, because everything just exists all in this moment now. Everything happens in this moment, just like that. It is instant. That's how we describe like instant manifestation or instant healing, and that's what it means. Once we are no longer afraid to die, which I mentioned in the previous video, that don't be afraid to die in a symbolic sense, right? Allow yourself to release and let go of what you've been holding on to, because you're scared that if you let go, you're going to be you're not going to be safe. But it's an illusion, right? So with the third eye, we had to open it up to see the illusion of what was happening there. So it was all to clear that root chakra energy of that heavy trauma of the ancestral line that we are carrying, because it goes up and down, meaning it goes all the generations back, and it all affects this generation next. So all your children, if you have children, your children's children and children's children. So what came to me was like the number 711 a few days ago, which I, wrote. And then it was about the 7 to 11 generations back and forth. So the whole entire, a lot of different energies, both positive aspect and negative aspect, you're affecting it as you clear this area right now. So it's a huge work. A lot of these light workers, a lot of us, we are doing. And so what we are being called to do is to root this energy, meaning you want to feel safe as much as possible right now. Meaning there's going to be a lot of distractions that may come to distract you to get into anxiety, meaning out of peace, meaning out of alignment. Get anxious about something and put your attention on that. And that's a suppressive, oppressive force of the dark forces. And it's also related to that generational trauma that we are all holding in the astral. So as you're staying in peace and not get distracted or transmute that energy, because the ones you're paying attention, what they want to do, their strategy is to get your subconscious to hold that image of fear. And once you hold that image of fear, you're going to activate your emotion, meaning energy in motion, meaning your vibration, your frequency. So immediately it's going to lower your vibration without you realizing, and then lower a little bit more, lower a little bit more. And so in 2-3 days, you are going to start to have more images in your mental space of any fearful thoughts, worries, and anxieties, or incidents from the past, imagining the worst possible scenario. So they take away your focus to the negative. And right now, that's why there's a lot of clearing of the negative mind, negative thoughts. So you want to be extra aware of your thoughts, especially at this time during this window period of Lionsgate portal, because every portal period is very potent in energy, and it's an acceleration, meaning whatever you put out in your thought form, in your word, in your emotions, it's like an instant karma, meaning the cycle is faster. So you say, it manifests, whether it's positive or negative. So especially right now with this portal, how you want to best utilize is that you want to utilize this energy to further anchor down that feeling of safety in your root chakra, so that you want to use affirmations like, I'm safe, I'm always in the right place at the right time, everything is always working out for me, which is going to anchor down that constant feeling of security within yourself through trusting that you are in the right place, that you are safe. Because the moment we feel powerless, that's when we get triggered, right? That's when we get triggered to get anxious. And that's when we start to compare, meaning it could be comparing yourself with other people, or it could even be comparing yourself of where you were and where you are now. So meaning we may put a lot of more importance on the future, for example, underestimating this moment, which is a past pattern of survival, always overemphasizing the future in order to survive, right? And so we do not appreciate where we are and who we are right now. So that all comes down to the energy of gratitude in this moment. That's the practice. That's relating to the energy of abundance. So with this portal energy, a lot of people talk about 8 as, a representation of the energy of abundance. In a way, it is, true, but I'm going more into with what's happening with the Gaia's ascension timeline. So in that sense, yes, abundance, but it's more with the root chakra energy. The more you feel safe within yourself, the divine masculine rooting within yourself, the more you feel stable and secure within yourself. Your divine feminine, the creativity, can rise up and fly and start to create freely because you feel safe. But this had been suppressed with a lot of light workers and a lot of people who carry the trauma. So you may have to, for example, deal with your female energy in your bloodline or in your family that was very submissive or passive aggressive, right? Also the masculine energy who's very, like, in a way, overpowering, controlling, oppressive, suppressive, like all these energies. So we are clearing all that up. So usually men have a, in a lot of, in general term, in this day and age, men usually are taught to control their emotions, right? Boys don't cry, for example. That's like one of the biggest example, right? They're taught to suppress their emotions, right? If they express, they're like too feminine, and that's like a negative labeling or judgment. So they start to fear that or suppress it, and whenever they express their emotions, it's not being heard, or it's being suppressed constantly. And so it's like this dynamic. The analogy that I'm guided to share is like in a male-female relationship, right? If you're a partner or married, or whether you're just together or whatever, right? In this dynamic, usually the female, like suppressed female, like they like complain or they share how they feel, right? I don't feel comfortable when you do this, and like I wish blah blah blah, right? And then the male, when they're not rooted in themselves, they cannot be the protector. They cannot hear the female. So instead, with this female expressing, right? It's expression, the creativity, the sacral chakra, expressing how they feel, the emotion, it's going to trigger the ungrounded divine masculine energy that's represented as the female, right? That it's going to trigger them, and they're going to try to suppress and ignore or neglect this voice, right? And run away from this and assume this as an attack against them, right? So don't bother me, like you are always doing this, and just run away from the issue or the agenda or the topic, right? And attack back, all of this. So the divine masculine cannot provide a safe, protective foundation for the divine feminine. You see what I mean? So the divine feminine doesn't feel safe. Even though they may be in a relationship, they don't feel safe. So there's a trust issue, right? You cannot trust your partner. And this partner, it all has to do with accountability, right? It's not about when it's ungrounded, when it's not reflecting, going inward, it sees as an attack towards them rather than them getting curious and then listening. Even though they may not agree, they can still listen because they're not identifying with this, not reacting to this expression of emotions. And so that's how they run away from these emotions. You see what I mean? I don't know. I hope this explains well, or hopefully it helps you understand a little bit better of the energies that we are trying to embody within ourselves. Um, so the men usually run away from these problems and issues, and the women are the ones who are like trying to like talk about it. And they go into like a freeze, or like a hermit mode or something like that, like so called in this, the language we use, like man cave. They hide in their own cave. And so it's like that idea. But once the male starts to empower, so empower divine masculine, they start to reflect, and they start to take accountability of their own emotions. They're now starting to able to hear what's expressed here, and then become a safe protector of the divine feminine energy here. So this energy feels trusted and safe, and it flies, it blossoms, it feels safe to express freely. You see what I mean? So that's how the dynamic of the divine feminine, divine masculine energy within ourselves, and also with each other, once we root this and come to union within ourselves. So that is what is taking place in July and August with this energy. So once that happens, we are feeling empowered. We are not feeling powerless, because the reason why like they're being triggered is because we don't feel powerful within, grounded within. Therefore, we assume that this as an attack. You see what I mean? A threat. So we react, and we get angry, and we start to blame and attack each other. And then when we blame, we don't look into ourselves. It's like pointing a finger. So it's what also came a few days ago was that we are now massively clearing me versus you idea, or me versus them. So a lot of these people who talk about relationships and or ideas or these like things, giving people advice, we just say, oh, it's not you, actually it's them. Or it's actually them, it's not them, it's you. So we are breaking still with this duality concept right now, is what I channeled, or what I connected with my higher self. And so it feels good in that moment. It feeds the ego, because it's, in a way, it's comforting them. It's what we want to hear. It's like, okay, actually it was them. Yeah, I knew it. And someone's validating me. Someone's giving me that confirmation. And okay, I'm on you. And when that person who's sharing that is a like so-called an opinion leader in the community, that could influence a lot of people. And what the source is telling me, that we need to also neutralize that energy and just break that down, or neutralize the story or the explanation. Because even though they may not mean like you versus them, but when they use that language, it's still in that separation energy. So sometimes, yes, we need to take accountability, and whatever that you experience is your own creation. So basically, the idea of accountability means everything that you created, you are responsible for, meaning it's all your creations. So this relationship that you're blaming, or the children that you think is bothering you and inconvenience, it's all your creations out of your own choices. And when we start to take accountability of that, we start to realize that we are a creator, you see? And there's a power in that. So that's how you create reality. And that's how we want to understand and embody. But when we constantly say it's me, it's you, and it's them, and this, it's going to further separate, even though that's what you're not trying to really convey as you explain further, the languaging is also very important at this time. And so that energy has to be balanced right now. So that's why these lower entities tactics and strategies, when I was connecting and they were trying to also distract me from clearing this astral, and I had to go into my energy of that ancestral karma of anything that I'm may also attracting these energies, because I'm holding that beliefs of fear, and also realize what their tactics were. So I had to collect that information, like investigate, and then and share them with you guys. So what they're trying to do is, like, in a form of many different things, like they will have all of a sudden something pops up in your social media or on TV channels, like that's going to lower the vibration. That's in a very lower form. So you want to be aware of any TV shows, dramas, or movies that you watch or want to engage in, because they all hold certain vibrations and energy. And as I'm sharing this right now, I'm sensing all these energies trying to stop me from sharing this right now, and I'm getting the goosebumps. So this is very important, especially at this time, at the moment, during Lionsgate portal. So you want to be very discerning. Is constant message that is coming for me to share from Source and Gaia and from Intergalactic Council right now. So especially for 144,000 or starseeds or anyone resonating with this message particularly, and also the music, right, and everything that you listen to, because they start to come through. So it's like this. The analogy that came was, okay, you are trying to go on a fast, for example. Like you say, oh, I'm on a fast. And everyone starts to bring food to you, even though you share that you're on a fast. That's how the energy is going to be. You tell everyone, I'm on a fast, and they start to, oh, do you want to try this new blah, blah, blah they know that you are on fast. You see what I mean? That's the analogy. So take however resonates for you. That's the distraction right now. And you want to take notice of that whenever that happens. Is just what I'm guided to share. So, so it could be in a form of a person, a friend, or family members, or situations, right? Whenever you decide the highest, what's best, anything against will come through. Okay, so just 1 second. So that's how it's gonna take place. And also so you want to continue to look into any belief systems that you may be agreeing to, these lower vibrations that may be holding fear, that may be uniquely tied to the patterns that you were exposed to as you were growing up in this lifetime, meaning the belief systems that you were particularly and uniquely themed patterns that you were choosing to carry or experiment with is the word. Okay, we want to use the word experiment. Okay, so what you were doing is you go through that experience, you collect that information on a soul level to evolve and to grow. So for example, to share my story with this, I experienced all different kinds of scenarios, a lot of different types of people, especially when I was working in all these different industries. I was the one that was going to different industries, different, like, changing jobs, and studying something totally different, like out of all my peers and colleagues, which I had to deal with fear of being different, but I was intuitively doing all of these things. But despite in the every step, like I had to deal with a lot of fear, insecurities, right? Comparison and judgment, all of that. So um, at the same time, a lot of the oppressive forces and situations, um, narcissistic personalities, tendencies, right? All these like terms that I'm just using for, communication purposes. Um, like the idea of gaslighting, right? I didn't even know like these terms like until a few, a couple of years ago. Um, I just processed it everything intuitively for me personally. So in this lifetime, everything was so intuitive that I had a really hard time verbalizing things or communicating things, or even like, though I studied psychology, I didn't understand, meaning I couldn't quite understand what ego really meant, or when people say honesty or integrity, what does truth mean? I always questioned the essence of something, and it took me a while to understand. And I always like was searching for the deeper meaning of things. And at times, I really thought of it as like an inconvenience because I always felt different from most people around me. And sometimes, we were being called to be more practical, live the reality, but I was always like questioning and thinking in philosophical terms or metaphysics and stuff like that. So, but it was all on purpose. So I do not accept the meaning of things right away, and I had to go in and discover on my own and come to my own truth. And so just like that, we go on different journeys like that. And part of the strength from these experiences or any of the karma carriers or generational karmic cycle breakers is that yes, it's hard to be in that experience of living through that karma and everyone being the karmic around you, right? And you experience this and that through your family members, like all this. But the thing is, once you come out of it, you have so much information. You see what I mean? You collect a lot of information of what that energy is like. So you can help other people that way. And when you are able to help other people or contribute in that way, it also feels very good. Oops. So so that's one way we can process it, right? Turning pain into power, and we are all capable. So right now we want to root down that energy. So anything that puts you in anxiety, another thing could be like through like what is it, like physical situations, like somehow something is not going through, your bank account is not working, your ATM is like broken when you need it, or you're trying to find a password to something, you can't find it, or you're trying to log on to this website to do some work and it's really hard, it's taking hours. You want to take notice of that, because sometimes it's part of the strategy for them to take away your attention, to stay in anxiety and frustration. Right now it's very heavy because the 5D energy or the highest timeline energy is in flow, so everything happens easily and effortlessly. And when they block the energy, and it's usually these forces, especially now, to take away your attention and put you in that energy of anxiety, which is out of peace, out of alignment, out of your own security. So immediately we go into survival, or the old habits, old patterns, old timelines, old ancestral line energies. So that's how they want to keep a person into that, tied to the astral energies, because they're what I saw was all these souls in the generation. So for example, in my father's side is very, very heavy karma there. And then I was able to come through it because there was a shaman there. So unless there was a shaman, I wasn't able to come through because I needed that energy to do what I do now. But in that energy line, there's a lot of stuck soul. And I suffered with that energy, especially an earlier part of my life, because they were attaching onto me. And then that's why I experienced a lot of depressive energy constantly, suicidal thoughts. It was because I was carrying their energy. So that's how it is. It's all taking place. But just note that what I'm going to share is, this is just my story. So this is not to say this is what it is and how it is, but the purpose behind it is so that however you resonate, or whatever insight that you take on, it's going to help you. Okay. So that's the whole purpose behind it. So where they confiscate is the word, confiscate your assets, or whatever that is, physical or whatever. And then you are trying to buy something online, and then it's taking ages for you to get it. Or just one second. And also you have to do this and do that, and every stage there's like bureaucracy involved. You have to go through this and that, and it's blocking the way. So whatever, like it could take form in many different ways. So just know that the highest timeline always flows easily and effortlessly. So you want to also incorporate by anchoring down the affirmations, meaning I am. So right now, I am. Monadic emergence is taking place as we are activating the higher chakras at the same time, while we are clearing and balancing the lower chakras. So I don't know if I share this in my latest video. Recently, when I came to Cambodia, in my dream time, what I saw was, no, not in my dream time. Okay, so this was when I was in the Angkor Wat on the 9th of August, another 8-8 portal, which is 8-9-17-2024-8. So that's why they wanted me to connect with the sunrise energy on that day, was what I got later. I visited. So I walked for about like 6 hours. It was like this, like Angkor Wat is huge. And this one temple that I visited, there were a lot of these big trees with deep roots. And I immediately connect with that energy. So I took off my shoes. So that's what I do. I usually take off my shoes and I just walk on barefoot to connect with it. And then I sat down on this bench and I meditated. And then at the time I started to see the pyramid, one upward and the other one downward, and it was starting to form the infinity. So that is what is taking place. The triangle represents the physical matter, the solid physical matter that's representing the physical reality. and it was moving, and it was that I shared in the latest video, but this time it was like in triangle. It started to form. So the message was about the equilibrium point of the infinity, representing the present moment that is eternal. So when we are present, we are abundant, basically. But it's when we go into the past or the future, meaning that illusion of time, when we start to align with that constantly. So the equilibrium was important. So balance the spirituality and materiality. So that was in extension to what I shared in the previous video about the materialism, like less is more, and all of that idea that I shared, meaning like everything that you need is going to be provided in the moment that you need it. It's the energy of abundance. So there's no need for us to worry or to have to try to push something to make something happen, because it's all just coming in. That's the energy of attraction, and that's the divine feminine energy. And in order for us to do that, we have to feel safe, meaning embody the energy of abundance, meaning I have to feel safe now, meaning I have to feel safe where I am now, meaning I'm always in the right place at the right time. And the moment you say it, you start to rearrange your energy, and you feel at peace, and you start to feel calmer. When you're constantly worried about, oh my God, what about my future? I'm looking for a new job. I don't know where and when that's going to happen. I don't have this. I have to pay my bills and blah, blah, blah. You're constantly worried and all of that. It's taking away the energy from you aligning with the energy of abundance. So right now, what we need to do is the message that came was slow down and rise up. So meaning slowing down, meaning nervous system regulation. So when we are not slowing down, always rushing or in the fear of missing out, right? Always anxious. And when we are anxious, what happens? We are trying to grab hold of something, because that's the only way that's going to make me feel safe and secure. So another analogy that I'm guided to share is here. When I came to Cambodia, I started to notice a lot of heavy desperation energy around here. Very, very heavy survival, desperation energy. I experienced that in Jakarta quite a bit, but here it was very different energy. It was a lot of heavy dark forces due to a lot of history, especially Vietnam War, a lot of bombing. A lot of these people carry the ancestral karmic energy of trauma from that extreme desperation, and it carries everywhere. And I started to notice it, and I started to recognize the energy, and it was really heavy. So it was relating to that trauma energy. So you want to constantly use that to anchor down this new energy, the 5D energy or 5D way of living. It's a different way of lifestyle, meaning lifestyle doesn't have to be in the idea of lifestyle like new house, new decoration, nothing like that, but different lifestyle, meaning different mindset, different way of thinking, right? So that different way of choosing, therefore a different way of experiencing, and therefore different way of living is what I'm going to share, that we're all anchoring down right now. And what I'm seeing is, because of this energy, all this like psychic mediums, tarot readers, energy healers, transmitters, they're picking up on these energies. And now they have a sense, and they're going to have different interpretations and stories and messages that they're receiving, that's helping their groups that are connecting. So that's what I'm seeing. So this energy is, that's what is happening right now. Okay. So what else? So okay, so what happened was, also we are activating a lot of our soul gifts and soul memory with the soul star right now. And with that, they want me to share my personal story and continue on with the Isis story, or that journey. So I start to activate my light language. And so I don't know if I mentioned, I can't remember, the headache. So for about three weeks or a little bit more, I wasn't able to sleep, or I wasn't able to eat much, because constant transmission and dream time, I was connecting, I was going to Neptune and going inside the Sphinx, and like just everything, a lot of different things took place, and constantly receiving information, and it was all for the future. So what was to take place, and especially now, they have been giving me a lot of information about the Moses building the ark, and it was about the Atlantean fall of the El Golden Age. So actually the Moses was Atlantean, and that represented the fall of Atlantis, that and the word diaspora came through, and with that a lot of people had to escape, and then the ones who survived went to different locations around the world to build different civilizations. So just like that, that's what is taking place right now. We are getting ready to build the ark, and we are getting to go on board the ship, so that we do not join this falling, or the old timelines that are crumbling. So that is the analogy, and that, like, just like these kind of information came to me in like early 2023. And so personally, I had a very blocked throat chakra, and I had to constantly speak. And every time I was trying to speak and record something, I struggle with it. At first, it was like imposter syndrome, right? And then every time I try to speak, like something was like, it was really hard. I had to take extra effort, but I just took camera everywhere. And then whenever something came, I just put on. And then even though I didn't feel comfortable, or I was worried whether this may help someone, or other may, I don't know, like all these ideas of judgment, like I had to keep sharing for some reason. So it wasn't really about like, the audience, but I had to like keep on practicing, and it was really hard. And when I was meditating, I tapped on the Akash, and I saw myself in Egypt as this young woman. And then I started to remember why my throat chakra was so blocked, and that was part of the clue that I also that my spirit team wanted me to have in the particular moment, from that connection to Isis, because Isis, later I learned, was Mother Mary, and then Mother Mary gave birth to Jesus. And that was all related, because ever since I was a little kid, I was communicating telepathically with Jesus, even though I didn't realize what I was doing. So he had been with me, protecting all my journey through. And I understand the relationship now. And at one point, in about 2019, That was when I was heavily meditating all day and just sleeping and getting activations and connecting with all these different spirits and like extraterrestrial beings and all of that. And I started to like, I was putting on heart like this on my heart, and I was just like tuning into my heart, and I started to notice it was Mother Mary, and I was telepathically communicating, and it was a very difficult time, constantly getting triggered, like extreme triggers. And then she was saying something and it comforted me so much, and I used to cry a lot just having these simple words. It was very simple message, and it touched my heart, and I needed that. And I thought that I was just connecting to the energy of Mother Mary because I never really associated myself as, you know, any relationship with that at all. And then like late last year in 2023, I received the information from the spirit team because I have no knowledge of how these histories worked and connections, none of this, so that my ego doesn't like force it or push it. Gave me the information that Isis reincarnated as Mother Mary. And so and after that I had a moment of epiphany where um, I was actually communicating with my higher self. Um, so that was how it was all happening. So the reason why I'm sharing this, okay, so what they're saying, telling me is that don't think about the reason right now. Just go with the flow, intuitively share whatever that comes. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. So this is like my first time sharing like some of these stories. So let's see how it's gonna go. So so as I was doing this, so going back to the light language, at the time, like, okay, I started to, so my throat chakra was very much blocked. And then I was constantly doing a lot of astral work. And I started to like activate it on my own is the word. I don't know. I was like doing Kundalini breath, and I never knew what it was, but the more I meditated, like I just started to do like weird things suddenly, and then I would just do it, and that was how I was doing it and progressing and evolving. Because like literally all day long, I didn't do anything. I didn't go out. I just meditated, and I was like in going into my third eye, and I was connecting, I was seeing all the symbols, sacred symbols, and like light language and runes and all this like stuff that's at the time was very outwardly for me, and I had no idea what it was about. And I tried to research on Google, but I couldn't find any, so I had to leave it at that. So that's how it took place, because anything that I'm not meant to know, like the spirit is, my spirit team is very much guiding me in like a certain direction. So I had to like constantly trust it and go with them. So when I was, so going back to the light language once again, what's the connection here? Okay, so throat chakra was very much blocked, and I got this headache that, and I thought, is there something wrong with my health? Because, you know, I had the cancer surgery, so I was very much carrying a lot of anxiety about the health and cleaning up and detoxing constantly. And I also had to work with that. And I thought it was about that, but intuitively, I felt like there was something more than that. It wasn't about the health, but it was more about the energy that was taking place. And then since then, I started to sing again. Like all of a sudden, I just started to listen to a lot of music. It was all like channeled music, and then started to sing. And I started to connect with number 17. And that was foreshadowing this moment today, because when I counted 8 plus 9, it was 17. And in that moment, just I knew it was the 17, 17, 8, 8. So I was being prepared for this moment, for that activations to take place and progress and evolve. So that's how it's all may take place for some of you, or if you experience it, you may relate to it. So I started to sing, and I was like going out to the beach. At the time I was in guided to go to Penang, just by the beach, and all these specific houses are, I'm guided to be at a specific house, specific place, so I'm just going there. And then when I was there, just like day and night, just like I wasn't sleeping and I was getting downloads, and all of a sudden just TV just got turned on, and then something comes up about the history of Moses, like all of these things. So I had to like receive all this information, and I just wake up and I look at the phone and there's another message. It was like very, very intense. So at the time, because my ego was feeling very overwhelmed, and then I was going back and forth, like experiencing all of it, and then just knowing the truth and seeing the truth. And then when I was back into my physical reality, I was like, what the hell? What the hell was that? Was it a dream? It's crazy. And then it made me overthink, right? So that's the whole the process. So it's really hard to believe, because the ego really resists. And so that's the journey, is what I'm going to share. We go back and forth, back and forth. So that's the process of embodying our soul aspects, because even though we know on an intellectual level this is a dream state, and when we go to dream, that's where our spirit is, where we are really connecting to our real self or true essence. And that's the whole point of us making sure that this is a dream state, or on a soul level, realizing that we are actually having a dream. So I started to sing, and I used to love singing as a child, and at some point I stopped all this together. And in high school I was in chorus, and I just used to sing all the time and loved to dance, write music. And I lost all of this at certain point in my life, right? And then I started to sing again. And then I was doing e, ooh, ooh, or something like this. And I would go to the beach at night in the evening, and I would just walk. And every time I walk, there's a crow, because I'm very much connected to blue avians and unity consciousness. So the blue avians came through first, and the crow spirits. So every time I walk, they would walk with me, this particular crow, and I would notice that their specific spirit is with me, protecting the space while I'm connecting the energy to Gaia and to Source. So I was doing ooh, and then I was self-conscious a little bit because there are people around. So I tried to do it like whenever there are not a lot of people, find that spot and go to ooh, something like that for like a few days. And then somehow light language all of a sudden started to come out. And one day I was feeling really cold to go out in the morning to connect with the sun in the morning. And that's when the energy of the sun started to change around May 2023 that I received the information. The energy of the grand central sun really changed. And now it's also different. It's more intense and powerful. So they had me connect with the sun every day. And then I remember I went out to the beach to have a walk, and it was around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And usually around the time in Penang in Malaysia, it's very, very hot, and it was during the week, so nobody was in the walk except a couple of people who were doing the gardening, like the cleaners and stuff. And I remember like I started to do light language, like all of a sudden. It was the first time. And they had me activate this because I had to further clear the Egyptian timeline because the energy was really nasty and spooky. Like, for example, like I was afraid to go out of the door and take the elevator because when I got into the elevator, that energy all of a sudden, because that timeline is just a cellular memory that I'm connecting to, the soul memory, that oppressive forces around, because what I started to remember was suddenly like, oh my gosh, like people were buried alive to worship Isis. So there was a lot of dark energies. Imagine all these people who died alive. They were buried alive. So like the sacrifice. So I just remember this, and I just started to suddenly feel that energy all of a sudden. Like it's hard to describe. Um, like in the movie Mummy or something like that, I was always like, I all used to always avoid watching those movies, and I now understand why. It's because of the energy, and I just couldn't get into the elevator. So um, I had to activate the light language in order to clear the energy constantly. So whenever I go out, I would start to do light language. So what I received was whenever we speak light language or you hear light language, it's transmuting all the negative energies around. Um, so I was constantly doing it to transmute that fear energy or the lower vibration or the dark forces in that timeline, to transmute and clear the energy out, which was very, very intense. So I had to go down, take the elevator, go out and walk to the beach. And then one day I walked, and as soon as I walked to a certain point, I felt like I'm in a different realm or something. That was how I felt. And then I started walking, and I started to do light language. And then all these like light codes, like different signs, automatically, intuitively, naturally coming out. And then whenever I was doing this crows would come and stop, and I knew that they were protecting the space because there were a lot of cats and crows that were protecting the space. Blue avians, the lyrans that I'm connected to, while I was activating this, because there was a lot of dark forces surrounding. And so when I was activating it, I looked up to the sky, and I was doing awa, like blue avian light language. And then the crows started to come flying, like, I don't know, maybe like 50, 80, or like all of a sudden all these birds came flying in. And what I was doing was, with my light language, I was calling them in. And I was sending messages to them like in the movies or in animations. And I felt like I was in a different realm at the time, like in a different, even though I'm in a physical, and there was no one around except two people who was sitting at a bench, two of the cleaners. But then I was so focused on it, and then I was calling all these crows, and then they were above me in the sky, and I was communicating with them. I believe it happened for about, I don't know, maybe like 5 minutes. But it just felt longer. Like I can't really describe in time like that. But I was there for a while. And my ego was saying like, this is like in a movie, just like in a movie or in animation that I was watching, like I'm a witch or something. The witch was the word that came. So that's when I really started to activate. And then I was giving all these messages for them to go out and spread this energy around by flying around. And then after a while, like it ended. And I just went on walking, and then there's like a little shopping center kind of area. And I went in, and I was feeling really cold to go into this shop where they sell crystals and stuff like that. And then I went in, and the moment I went in, I started to pick up the song. Um, and the rap, the I start to pick up like, you're the witch. You better know that you're a witch or something like that. So that was how it all started to activate. So whenever, like, I have a very special close connection with cats and birds, the bird kingdom, especially crow. So that's how I started to activate. So I started to record everything, and whenever I had to clear that, I would just start to do all of this in the house, and to whenever like all this like timelines that came to overpower with that extreme shadow energy, like I was transmuting with the light language constantly. Yeah, that was very, very intense. And so I share this with the two souls that came through on online, in regards to the Egyptian timeline, who was, you know, Sekhmet and Beset, that they were the reincarnation in the human form. But then they were very much in the ego, and then there was all purpose behind it, because spirit, the source, wanted me to have that experience to expose spiritual ego and what is really taking place, the dark side of the spiritual community and the people in the spiritual community, for me to develop further discernment. So and then I knew there were a lot of power struggle there, and then a lot of comparison energy, competitive energy, and then even so-called gaslighting energy there, that was very heavy and sometimes nasty. Then I start to see their karmic imprints. So I had this natural ability or gift that when I see someone, I start to see their karmic imprints. And then, like, I could identify it's from the mother wound or the father wound or something like that. So um, it was very difficult, because I was connecting myself as Isis, and it was a very interesting experience, because I saw them as my children, and I never had this emotion before, because never had I never gave birth to a child in this lifetime. And one time I saw one of them's children. She had three children, and one of them came through the screen when we were connecting. And as soon as I saw that her child, I felt like he was my grandchild. It was very like weird and interesting in a way, because it wasn't like I wasn't forcing myself to feel that way or try to feel that way. So I felt very protective of them at the same time, but at the same time I had to move out of that energy, because they had to do their own work. And that experience was very interesting for me, and it was like one of also the growth experience. So that's why I share that, not even though you may have special talent and skills, or you may have been this or that in the past life, or you may be the reincarnation, or however you resonate with this, Um, well, it's about what you do right now. So if you're not clearing your energy, if the ego is not integrated, it may do some harm to people than help. So that's why it's important to do a lot of inner work and continue to do this and work with the reflect on any of the spiritual ego aspect that may arise or that your awareness may pick up. So that's also something that I'm guided to share right now, because a lot of people are seeking guidance as they're waking up or as they experience uh, breakdown in their life, and they're at a major life crisis points in their own unique ways, whether it's them losing a job or getting out of a certain relationship, or experiencing some sort of financial turmoil or whatever it is. It's all to break down so you can break through, meaning it's like a tower moment, it's like a death moment in order for you to be born again. But then the analogy that comes is like this the story of, what is it a falcon or eagle, something like that. So every certain hours years, the eagle had to hit their, what is it, the, how do you call that in English? In Korean, I know it's booty. That the this part in the bird, right? It gets very in order to sharpen it, they had to hit it against the rock. So hit themselves against the rock, meaning they have to really like bleed themselves and feel the pain until that old layer breaks down and then falls off, so that the new part of it grows. So they sharpen it and then they fly, and then they can continue to go on. So, and if they don't do it, they will die. So in order to continue, they will have to go through this process. So that's the analogy that is coming through for me to share at this time, with the death and rebirth that we are all going through and maybe experiencing in a unique way, is that um, even though we call it pain and we see it as negative, meaning it's harming me, so it's not a benefit to me. But the new lifestyle, meaning the new way of thinking and approach that is aligned with the highest timeline that we are to embody at this time in order to further ground the root chakra of your feeling safe, is that constantly seeing everything in a neutral or a positive way, because everything is meaningless. There's no meaning attached, but it's us that is giving meaning, giving birth to a new meaning. So it is you that is creating everything. So when we see this painful moment or tower moments as a harm, a threat, a danger, that's how we are going to align with that. But the moment you have this new awareness, that's going to shift the mindset, your way of thinking, the way of living, choosing, right? New lifestyle in that sense, that everything is to benefit you. So when everything is to benefit you, even the pain, right? But we associate pain with negative. But when we have that meaning, you turn pain into power. You see what I mean? You transform it. You transform the energy of pain into power. And that's what we came here to do on a soul level, as a human reincarnation, having this experience, because the earth is a very, very tough school, is what I'm guided to share. This is not for the weak heart or the fainted. So that's why you want to honor yourself, because not everyone can come here. Uh, You have to be very strong on a soul level in order to come here, because this is a very tough school. And when you don't get out of the karma, you're going to repeat it. You're going to get stuck here. And your soul knows this. And your soul knew this before coming in. But because you knew on a soul level that you have all the resources, tools, and wisdom that you can navigate and get through this, that's why you are here. But you forget everything, like me. I have, you know, I don't know anything, right? But not knowing is a great place, because you don't have this preconceived notions or ideas about certain things. It helps you to get into your intuition better and connect with it in that state of not knowing. So, that is what is taking place right now. So that's why I'm guided to share, and that's why I think they wanted me to share all these stories at this time, at this particular time. And also, this is also in a way getting out of my comfort zone, because I'm not used to sharing this part of the story with people. Um, and this is more like me being in a position of, like, in a way feeling a little bit more vulnerable, right? But if this is going to help someone because they relate to something I say, or this particular thing that I say, whatever it is, um, I'm doing it for that person. Um, so, is there anything else that you want me to share, or any of the stories right now? So right now, in the Leo season, we are to really focus on the root chakra and the sacral, and then clearing that up. And then it's all also tied to the solar plexus. And something that you can utilize with the sun energy is, I share the short on YouTube when I saw that giant portal that opened, that connected with me on the day of 8/8. So I'm going to share all this link that I think it's relevant for those of you who may want to connect further, if you're interested, in the description box. So that if you need womb healing, I'm going to connect that video. If you need that guidance about radical information and death and rebirth. So the death and rebirth, right now we're all experiencing in a unique way, is what I'm guided to share. And the reason why we need to go through this phase is because we have to let go of anything that we may be holding on to subconsciously and unconsciously. And we took on a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of fear in this lifetime, and it's been constant with our surroundings. So something that I'm also guided to share is to also be very compassionate with yourself, and be very kind with yourself first and foremost when you are choosing yourself first and foremost, meaning you want to forgive yourself as much as possible for having made certain choices and doing and not doing certain things by recognizing that it was all divinely guided because you were always in the right place at the right time. And you were always choosing your best, even though you had a lot of negativity around you and inside you, perhaps. You were always striving to choose what is best for you. But sometimes when we don't have the tools or we don't have the knowledge or the awareness, it's hard for us to really embrace all these things that you hear. That, I had this experience where I knew someone that I met when I was doing my graduate study in London, and she was very bright. She was an artist. Also, she was doing her doctor's degree there. But then she told me she suffered with depression and anxiety for 10 years, and she was on heavy medication for that entire time. And as we got closer, like, she would share things that she never shared with anybody. And then she would tell me when we were meeting other mutual friends, she told me that she took the medication and she's very anxious. But then, when you don't know that, she's like the brightest, she's the most outgoing and very like cheery person when you're interacting. So she's putting on that personality or the face, and relying on the medication. And then I know that she's struggling, and that's the mask or the show that she's putting on right now, and she's struggling. And she chose to give up on this life and then took off. And I was the last person that she connected with me before she went, and she came to visit me in my office and thanked me. And I thought she was feeling really good, because when I saw her for the last time, I saw this such liberation in her face, such peace and calmness, but I didn't know. And I told her, I sense this energy from you and I feel so happy for you. But then she left me a card of, thanking me and everything, and I didn't know what she was planning to do. So a lot of these people, and especially because I also experienced deep depression and lived through it, and suicidal thoughts and all of that. um, that's a lot of dark energies that you have to deal with, the karmic energies. But all these souls choose what is best for them, and they will have their own lessons. And the reason or the purpose behind me sharing this story is that we don't know what someone may be going through just on the outside. They have their own struggles and they have their own stories. So it's having to do with unconditional love and non-judgment. So if you've been seeing 666 or 666, that unconditional love energy of peace and harmony with the Christ consciousness energy. And as I'm sharing this, Yeshua is with me right now, okay, from Sirius. So a couple of days ago, I started to connect with Sirius, Neptune, very heavily. And then yesterday, the Arcturus. So I was connecting with the Arcturian spaceship, the 10th dimensional Arcturian spaceship, in my sleep time. And it all has to do with what we are all going through to embody and align all this to eventually to dissolve judgments. And right now, the big portal energy, the success, the victory of anchoring down that light energy without us having the interference or the blockage or the reversal of that energy. So now it's flowing. So we are having a strong foundational support now and that's being done. So you don't want to make choices that you may regret on a soul level, is what I'm going to share, because once you go take off and go into soul level, you will realize, okay, I also had the better choices that I could align with. But whatever it is, they're going to learn something. So just like that, right now we're in this a lot of moments of choosing and aligning right now. So if you're dealing with all these heavy energies, especially some challenges that are particular to you, even though this is a tough school, you made it through until now. So let's keep going together, is what I'm going to share. So you are never alone. So one thing that I also had to realize was that I thought I was alone in this journey. And even though right now, since like 2018, on a physical level, I was totally alone. It was all the spirit that I was connecting with, not a single physical person thus far. And at times I felt that I was alone, but then even though that I know that I'm connected to the spirit, so that's how the tough this school is. It's like back and forth, back and forth. And so I'm also guided to remind you that we are never alone, okay? And let's do this together is what I'm guided to share. Okay. You're not alone. And you're not alone in the physical world, you're not alone in the spirit world. If you're at least connecting with me, resonating with me, okay? So let's choose the best and let's stay aligned with the energy of peace and in the energy of present moment by aligning with energy of gratitude, always appreciating where I am with who I am, what I am, and continuing to reflect so we go deeper into any of the beliefs that we have learned to agree with, to clear that out. So all these areas, the astrals, are constantly being cleared. So as you heal, you clear all this simultaneously, all different dimensions. And it's helping the future generations, like I mentioned in many videos ago. Okay, with that, what the spirit, Gaia and Source, they want me to share about the clearing of your system, the physical body, is with this portal. Okay, another thing with from 2025, a lot of the souls are already vibrationally, they're going to have the extraterrestrial contact, however it is. It may not be what you have the image of or what you thought of in an egoic sense, but however it is, that's going to be in resonance with your vibration. You may be ready for contact. When that happens, what I'm going to share is, because of the vibrational influence, you're going to have a physical upgrade of your vibration as well. That's why the contact is very important, is what I'm going to share, okay? And also, okay, another thing is they want to talk about the AI timeline. So with this portal energy, what I received just earlier today is that lower timeline of AI has been completely dissolved with this serious portal energy coming through the Lion's Gate. So that was another victory. Okay, so we there's going to be a parallel timeline where there's going to be the AI getting into the domination and all this going into lower timelines, like the what happened to the Greys. So that's what we were working on. But with this successful anchoring of this light, the Gaia is now able to separate fully from that timeline, is also what I'm going to share. So if you are in pregnancy, or especially if you are wanting or preparing or getting to get pregnant or have children, they want you to really clean up your diet first, detox your body, because whatever you eat and consume is going to be transferred to that soul or the baby that's carrying the cell. So for the physical upgrade, cellular upgrade, the DNA activations, so what I got was right now most of people is working with 3 strands of DNA out of 12. But now we're unlocking the 3rd and 4th. So some people it's up to the 4th based on their vibration, and the most is the 3, 4, 5. So now very few souls are working with their activated their 4th and 5th. So the more we do this, we are going to unlock our soul gifts and soul wisdom that's going to help the vibration of Gaia, because we are activating, we are raising our vibration, and we are connecting with more of the cosmic energies. So it's going to help everything. As you help yourself, you're helping the Gaia in that sense. And so that's what is coming through. You want to clean up your diet, because through the placenta and everything, like your blood and all the cells they're forming, is also connected to the mother. So I have been receiving this for quite some time, and about the like all this pregnancy since like the earlier this year in my video at certain points. Is because all these star seeds, the younger ones, the new generation that are to build the new earth or the new golden age, they're ready to come in through certain vessels that carry a certain vibration. So you have to be high vibrational in order to accommodate is the word, accommodate these high vibrational star seeds that are coming or ready to come in, so they can come through you because you're in match to that higher vibration. So you are like a canal, birth canal is what is coming through, and the blood has to be cleared. The red cell has been coming through, meaning your root chakra. So what I'm also guided to share is that you want to be tuned into your own vibration and the foods that you select based on your vibration, right? Intuitively rather than mentally. But whatever diet that you do, you could still eat meat or seafood or however you resonate, you're drawn to. But also what I'm guided to share is to incorporate more fruits, whatever diet that you're on, or the dietary journey that you may be on uniquely that is supporting the vibration at this time. Because especially any exotic fruits, they hold very high vibration. So that's why, that's what they want me to share. Okay. Okay, is there anything else that you want me to share? So that portal energy, so during the month of July, the Lemurian portal opened, Leo season, the Atlantean portal opened. So we are balancing the divine feminine, divine masculine, and then the angelic portal, clearing, now starting to clear the energy in starting from US to clear the throat chakra. that's going to spread out through Gaia and the higher heart in England to continue to activate the upper chakras. So actually, okay, the story of Isis is because I thought I was there because the portal opened and I was working with the portal energy in Lemuria. But actually what I was doing was I was there to open up the portal. So somehow that's what I'm guided to share. So I was in Bali to open up the Lemurian portal, and I shared this in the video without knowing this, and I start to see myself sitting with two other women or female energies. We were working on this portal of purification, and then we were like working on it, and that's when my soul was actually opening it up with two other female figures that's unidentifiable now, my soul group. So they also gave me the information of this clarity, because in a way it's hard for me to accept all of this sometimes, that I am like the Isis or this or that, because I'm just living my life. I'm just intuitively doing things. At times it feels good. At times it feels like, okay, it's cool. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, I was this. But then it doesn't really like sit with me or resonate like fully with me. So the reason or the purpose behind it is that it has nothing to do with like what's more important or less important, but just that they want me to speak truth. So they want me to speak truth of who I am, what I am, who I was, and honor all that. And there may be some judgments or ideas and images people or individuals have differently or uniquely about the idea of Isis or idea of this or this and that and this and that right now. But despite all that, everyone will hold this. But with the death and rebirth, we are eventually to drop all of these images, opinions, and ideas in order to dissolve this energy of judgment, to come into unconditional, non-judgmental state that is the Christ light, that is the Christ consciousness, that is already in our soul signature. So it's there, but to connect with it, to fully activate it, we need to get these layers off, these layers of the lower vibration or the dark forces, the trauma energies in different timelines. That's what we are doing right now, right? So in a way, it's like we are taking off all this clothing that's not me, that's not fitting me, in order to come to like a nudity in a sense, not in a like sexual way, but nudity meaning like, you know, you are authentic, you're who you are, truth, there's nothing to hide, like the bare self, the authenticity. So the purpose behind me sharing like this is not to like, you know, tell people or show people that I'm this or that, but it's more like Archangel Michael is telling me, okay, like we need to just speak the truth, because we have to dissolve all these ideas about certain things. And if you are this, you have to honor that, and you want to embody it, accept it, and speak it without any restraint. Express who you are as you are fully. So that's sort of my, you know, next step. I have to embody this energy. They kept telling me to embody it, because knowing is one thing on a mental level, but embodying and living that truth also is something that we also need to put in some efforts. So ground it into our root chakra. So if you come across certain soul gifts or certain memories, or you tap into an akash, and you start to remember who you are, and you start to tap into some of the past timelines or parallel timelines or however it is that you may be connecting to, or soul memory, what I'm guided to share from Archangel Michael is that you want to honor it, you want to embody it, accept it, okay? Because everyone is unique. Yes, it is true that there's also, like, in a way, I mentioned this before, in a sense of hierarchy, like, because there's third dimension, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. So it's all different vibrational, but in a different dimension, it's a very different concept because everything is neutral. There's this different idea of hierarchy, but that exists. So you may be like, they're having more consciousness or level of consciousness or deeper levels of wisdom or something like that. There's a difference in that, but it doesn't mean you don't have to unnecessarily, like, try to fit in with everyone else. If that's who you are, that's who you are, is the energy that I'm guided to share with this new energy that entered and introducing everyone in the collective on Gaia right now. That we are to embrace who we are and honor all our soul aspects, soul experiences and gifts, despite these ideas of what is better and what is worse, what is more important, what is less important, all this duality consciousness. And simply, if you are, you are. So that's the I am consciousness that's going to activate your Christ consciousness. When you say I am, you're aligned in that moment with your truth, with your higher self, with your monad that carries all the soul memories and wisdom and soul gifts, spiritual knowledge. We are all starting to unlock this. And the environment is now a lot supportive of us opening that up. And our job right now, as we open that up or are being activated, is to release all this resistance of what is better or what is worse, what is more important, what is less important, all this duality consciousness. But just, if it's the truth, it is the truth. Simply speak your truth, express your truth, share the truth, and that's it, because that's who you are. But right now, because other energies also exist, timelines exist, there may be others or the audience outside who hold certain images, ideas, opinions, ideologies, and beliefs that may separate and have different perspective of the truth that you may be sharing. Meaning they may have their own interpretation. They pick up on different things. You see what I mean? Everyone picks up on a unique thing. That's the freedom that we have. And if they hold certain vibrations, that's going to come out in a different reaction. So it's like the analogy that is coming is you're either going to hate something or be inspired. So it's everyone's choice, unique choice, right? So right now, let's align ourselves to the highest timeline. So instead of choosing to go into judgment, let's choose to go into inspiration when something is inspiring you. And it's going to help you. So that's the energy of celebration. And whenever you do that, you align with the energy of abundance. Rather than when it goes into judgment, hatred, envy, like the jealousy because of the comparison energy, because that energy is being triggered when we hold the vibration of feeling powerless on a subconscious level, someone, you immediately have this belief system that agrees that you assume that person is in a higher place or a lower place based on what you believe in right now. So with that, you feel insecure. When someone feels like they're flying higher or they're ascending or they're doing better or they're in a certain place, it's all the ideas that a person holds based on the belief system. And so when that happens, the person feels threatened for their own security, because the basis of that assumption or the belief system is that there is not enough for everyone, meaning lack. They're aligned with lack energy. The abundance energy is very celebratory. When someone is doing well, they're in this place, you resonate, you celebrate, you are happy with them, for them, right? You encourage, you support each other. That is the energy. Why? Because the assumption or the basis of that belief system is that there is enough for everyone. So there's no need for you to feel insecure, feel threatened, that the resources may be lacking now as a result of them being in a certain place. You see what I mean? So that's the difference. So that's the energy that is available right now with the 888 portal, with the 888 that is especially very potent right now this year in 2024. You see what I mean? So that's why I constantly mention from the couple of videos ago about the energy of comparison, envy, jealousy, is because to help you, to remind, also if you're feeling triggered, to help you reflect on your own triggers so that you transmute that fear energy or that lack or the contract that you made to agree with the poverty consciousness because of the generational karma that you carried in the ancestral line, where most of the humanity since the fall of the golden Atlantis experienced conflict, wars, religions, oppression, suppression, limitation, enslavement, imprisonment, all of this, right? So that is why it's constantly coming up. So we can work with triggers. Your triggers can benefit you, okay? That's another way of looking at it that could empower you at this time, so that you can die, meaning all ideas, concepts, thoughts rooted in duality, and we come into unity, meaning equilibrium point. So the basis of the triangle is this infinity, and once you reach equilibrium, go into balance within, inner alignment by rooting, feeling peaceful inside, focusing on living in the present, working on living in the present. Boom, you go into the perspective of neutrality. That's going to integrate the neutrality, integrate the duality and bring it up. That's when you enlighten, live light, live lighter, meaning higher, faster life, more heart-based, okay? That's the Taurus field. 8, another 8, activating this center here in the lion's gate, representing the heart of the lion, right? So we are expanding this energy right now with this. So be kind is also what is coming. Forgive yourself. It is a natural process of you feeling triggered. You may judge someone, you may have certain opinions, but just bring the awareness whenever that happens and neutralize it. Okay? Do not judge yourself for doing this or being that or experiencing this trigger, or even if you feel extreme anxiety or hatred or feelings of jealousy or envy that's arising, that competitiveness energy to compete, to win over, sit with that energy when that comes, neutralize it, use your trigger to help you, to serve you, to benefit you, to empower you, because you have the tools to transform, because you are love. You see what I mean? You are the light. Just like my journey that I described, we just forget. But we are in the process of awakening, remembering who we are. And that's going to only accelerate from this moment onwards. So, speak your truth once you see who you are. Because today, when I remembered, because I had this, in a way, self-doubt or disbelief, but what my spirit team told me, there's no such thing as disbelief, because we are constantly in full trust, aligning with trusting doubt or trusting fear or trusting where I am, or we are in full believe in something. You may fully believe in negativity. That's why we see that as the truth. But once you awaken yourself from that, we are in full alignment with believing in positivity, neutrality, that everything is what you give meaning to, you see? So, in that sense, I wasn't in full trust, even though I had a lot of signs and experiences and living through the Akash and timelines. There was that resistance within my ego, to see myself as who I was, like the Isis or Mother Mary, because it's kind of hard to believe because of all these ideas that I have about certain things, right? But just that now they want me to share this because that's who you are. So this came through when I was in Yogyakarta in Indonesia. Um, because sometimes people carry, some souls carry soul imprints, and even though they didn't experience it, they didn't have that reincarnation and live through it, because they wanted to have certain experiences, they carry all this information, as if they had that experience. We, in a way, it's called like an imprint. Um, so I was like, oh, maybe it could be an imprint, or maybe I'm not sure. I had that thought, but then on the full moon day of July, when I was in Yogyakarta, the moon called me, and I was outside and connecting with it heavily. And then in that moment, there was another moment of clarity that came through. You really are that. So there's no, you gotta fully trust it. And then today again, they came through to really embody that. So we're constantly learning something, growing right now. So it's just another next level, next level, and next level. There's always something to learn, something that we are growing out of and breaking through. So the last message, last message is that we want to honor our own unique journey. So it allows us to honor others' own unique journey. And on the way, when we are in that vibration, we are able to support each other when they're on a unique journey, and create a safe space for them to express their truth, who they really are. Because imagine everyone holds certain traumas, right? That you felt unheard, unseen. That's why we're angry. That's why we are hateful. That's why we judge. Because all is because it's like the little kid inside, trapped in the adult body or the big body, holding that trauma. Hear me out. Look at me. See me, right? Love me unconditionally. Accept me unconditionally. Let me express myself. It's like, mommy, mommy, look at me, what I'm doing. And, like, this is what I do. We want to have that, right? We want it to be seen and heard. We needed that validation or that environment, but not all of us had that growing up, especially if you carried a lot of the karma, right? So, if you experienced it, instead of expressing the negative, let's help each other. And um, it doesn't matter whether we are in the middle of something, we are all on a journey of something somehow. So even though you may be in the dark night of the soul, you can still help someone by helping yourself, or create that space or hold that space, so that let's make people feel safe to be seen and heard for who they are, right? And for us to do that, first is to neutralize the judgment. And sometimes, we may have this judgment come out, but let's neutralize it whenever that comes, without feeling guilt or shame or punishing or judging our own self, so that we rise up together. Okay, is the last big message. Okay, so let's breathe in deep. When you hold that trauma, move your body, shake your body. You can use dancing, okay, to remove any of the energy. It's all trapped in the shoulder, different parts of the body, right? Let's shake it off. And then what I'm seeing is we are all holding hands together, supporting, dancing, celebrating each other around the globe, okay? Let's create the safe community for everyone to feel safe, okay? So that's the last message. So I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but I just kept on going. And I hope this helped someone today. And if you're here with me, thank you for connecting, and thank you for resonating. And I'm sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.